We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
After 21 years at the helm of QSC, Mr. Pham has announced his retirement.
Joe's major legacy within the industry is that he consistently inspired the industry to aspire to more.
You know, yeah, he has had a major impact on the industry as a whole, not just QSC. He's recognized, he's known, and he's not afraid to speak up. That's, you know, one thing I've really admired about him is that when he has an idea, he shares it. He doesn't keep it to himself. He doesn't, you know, hold it just to QSC, but he looks at it for the industry.
Here's the thing. I honestly don't think that we've seen the last of Joe Pham, just personally. He'll chill out for a minute. He'll enjoy the family milestones, but I don't know that we've seen the last of Joe Pham.
I thought I told you I retired.
Oh, I thought you said you were tired.
Well, as a matter of fact, I am a little tired.
What is the lasting legacy of Joe Pham as he retires from QSC? Taking a look at hybrid learning spaces and using AI to order your coffee. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 707, recorded Friday, March 7th, 2025. Exit stage right. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and information we have gathered for the AV world. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss that very news and information, first and foremost, Ernie Bailey from UAMS. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Also with us, a very dear friend and someone who has helped me out of jams more times than I can count, Rachel Bradshaw from Castor Communications. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Tim. Delighted to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Good to see you. And a young man I got to hang out with in Barcelona, Guy Campos from AV Magazine. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Tim. With all my grey hair, it's nice that someone thinks I'm still young.
Well, I was going to make more of a comment about I have two folks that have accents. You can pick out which one is from where. So, you know, either Guy's from Arkansas or Ernie is. I don't know, and the other one's from London. So. We'll go from there. All right. Here's the thing. Every once in a while, we will get breaking news. This is sort of breaking news, but, it came down the pipeline, I believe, yesterday. Joe Pham has announced his retirement. QSC's Joe Pham, fantastic folks over at AV Technology. Cindy Davis got the chance to sit down with him after 21 years at the helm of QSC. Mr. Pham has announced his retirement. He sat down with Cindy Davis, like I said, and talked about the company's recent acquisition by Acuity. Pham expressed confidence in the leadership team and cited personal reasons, as well as professional ones, noting significant family milestones, quite frankly, that he doesn't want to miss, and I don't blame him for that. Transition comes during a transformative period for QSC, which now operates as part of Acuity's Intelligent Spaces team. Pham remains optimistic about the AV industry's future, particularly regarding AI innovation, and believes QSC is well positioned to continue thriving within its new corporate structure while maintaining its core values and missions. Ernie, we'll start with you on this. Joe is around QSC for 21 years, slightly less than you've been around the industry in general.
About half, yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to say half, but
I've been here at the university for 43 years. And
okay, so you have. Okay,
I was in broadcasting before that. So,
but let's take a moment and just kind of pause and acknowledge Joe's contributions, quite frankly, to the industry. What is his legacy going to be?
Well, I think the way he has brought QSC from a speaker company is how we really looked at them, to a full AV solutions provider, and then their acquisition by Acuity, I think is very exciting, and it's a neat way to, I think, good place to leave the industry. I think he's done great things with QSC. It's one of our favorite suppliers. We use them for multiple different things. And even if we're not using them, we're definitely looking at them, comparing them, see if they can better meet a need that we've been filling with someone else previously.
Yeah.
And I find them to be very reliable, a very good company. I think he's done a very good job and kept them in the forefront of the audiovisual industry.
Rachel, before you joined the folks over at Castor, you were also a member of Infocom, AVIXA, as it was called back then. So you've got a unique perspective here from a couple different angles. What's going to be the legacy of Joe Pham, after he does kind of exit stage right?
I think that my history with the AVIXA is relevant here because, Joe's always been very active within that organization. As a board member, he delivered the keynote at Infocom last year. And I think beyond his legacy at QSC, which is formidable, I think Joe's major legacy within the industry is that he consistently inspired the industry to aspire to more. He was a person who, whenever he was talking about QSC, yes, but even when he was just talking about the pro audiovisual industry generally, he just encouraged a sense of fearlessness and joy to explore the edges of what was possible, to claim new space. He pushed QSC into the networking space and sort of pushed the industry as a whole to really embrace their emerging role within, the sort of professional networked community. He has been pushing into the AI space. He's always encouraged everyone in the industry to think about themselves not just as people rolling carts, but as communications professionals who, by exploring new technology in a really fearless, unafraid way, could create new kinds of experiences and expand the purview of not just what his company did, but what the industry does. I just have the warmest possible feelings for Joe. I think that he's really helped the industry mature into what it is today.
He has had a major impact on the industry as a whole, not just QSC. He's recognized, he's known, and he's not afraid to speak up. That's, one thing I've really admired about him is that when he has an idea, he shares it. He doesn't keep it to himself. He doesn't, hold it just to QSC, but he looks at it for the industry. And that's been very impressive over the years. Yeah.
And he's the sort of person that when you talk to him one-on-one, he pushes you to think, okay, this is what we've done so far, but what's next? What are you going to do next? What's the new thing that you're thinking about? And that makes you the kind of person who makes all the people around you better.
Guy, we have spent the last 5 or 6 minutes talking about the platitudes and lauding Mr. Pham's accomplishments. But I want you to do a little bit of forecasting here and take a look a year from now or 2 years from now. What does the industry look like without Joe Pham? What is it, when we look at somebody who has pushed us all, me personally, right, and professionally, but also the industry, I'm not going to ask for names, but what does the industry look like without, Joe around?
I would say that coming in at the tail end of his career, one thing that I notice is his ability to put into words and describe trends that are being and to commercially act on them. So I think the industry is going to look exactly as he has predicted it will be. If you look in his recent comments, if you look at the development of software and the platform, there's going to be more of that. If you look at what he was saying about AV's ability to generate data that becomes food for AI to improve our experiences, there's going to be more of that. And if you look at the sale of the company, not to another AV company, not to a private investor, but to a technology company in the lighting and building management information space, I think we're going to see more of that collision between AV and the smart building area, more sharing of data. We're just at the very, very beginning of that currently. It's not really happening as much as people are talking about it. And I think a year or two down the line, we're going to be closer to it becoming a reality.
That's a really good place to stop. Yeah, I like that. And again, we all wish Joe very well, and hope that he finds another couple guitars to pick up. And probably, here's the thing, I honestly don't think that we've seen the last of Joe Pham, just personally. He'll chill out for a minute. He'll enjoy the family milestones, but I don't know that we've seen the last of Joe Pham. So that's just Tim's 2 cents. Next story comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine, Guy Campos. Guy did not write this, but Guy is from AV Magazine. A new wave of AI-powered drive-thrus is hitting the UK. Bocca Felice partners are partnering with Sodaclick and Pioneer Group to change the coffee buying experience. Number one, if you know anything about me, if you have coffee involved in a story, I will 100% click on it, just saying. Using Sodaclick's conversational voice AI, customers will interact with human-like digital assistants that not only take orders with natural speech, but also upsells intelligently, like suggesting a hot chocolate on a chilly day. With plans to open 22 locations by the end of this year and 80 by the end of 2026, Bocca Felice aims to disrupt a crowded market by delivering high-quality artisan coffee with unmatched speed and efficiency. Founder Lee Dyson says the goal isn't just convenience, it's about making the coffee run fun, fast, and quote-unquote refreshingly different. Rachel, I'm going to start with you on this. When you look at AI, and this is one of those areas where they are attempting to replace human interaction, what are some of the considerations, and quite frankly, what are some of the concerns in moving this direction?
I think this is very risky. You know me. I'm not an AI hater. I'm not even really an AI skeptic, but I do think that it deserves a critical eye because it's extremely useful for some things, but it's not a panacea. And when it comes to customer service specifically, people, no matter how good an AI agent is, consistently express a preference to interact with people. There was a good op-ed in the information about this recently, about how they anticipate that AI will inevitably replace some percentage of human labor in customer service fields, but where they see the most opportunity, and I think this is probably pretty smart, is as a layer between the human operative, the human customer service operative, and the customer. So it just allows a customer service operative to respond more intelligently, to respond faster, to give better informed responses. But I think that we're most likely to see the best use cases being a human being having access to those intelligent upsell suggestions, but still being responsible for that warm interaction with the customer. Now, all the way down on the fast casual end of things, I think we're going to see this whether we like it or not. It's going to create so much efficiency for the businesses. It's going to be so much cheaper than having employees and providing insurance and all of that stuff, that people are going to do it anyway, even though it provides a worse customer experience. We've been seeing those economics play out in airlines over the past 20 years. The experience gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and it gets more and more and more expensive. And we just have to eat it because we have no choice. I think that's going to happen at the low end. But at the high end and in the areas where I think that those kinds of assistive AI technologies are going to create real value, like high-end consulting, for instance, there's still always going to be that human layer that may in the future become kind of like a marker of luxury. Sorry, I monologued a bit, but I think about this constantly.
I appreciate it. So really quickly, if you aren't familiar, at least here in the States, there were some quick service restaurants that were not leveraging AI. They were leveraging something called a hub and spoke system. That is where somebody sat in a room, and if you drove up to a fast food restaurant of your choice in St. Louis, it triggered something. The person on the other end was not physically in St. Louis taking your order. right? It was another one of these efficiencies. And then the next ding happened, and the person they were talking to was in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? And so I see where Rachel's going with this, because we're already kind of there when it comes to a physical person. So this AI assistant, this AI order taker at that point, does kind of make sense when it comes to efficiencies and stripping that down. But I understand what she's also saying about that layer between higher end ones as well.
Now, I do think sorry, one more part of my monologue. A big part of the risk for companies is going to come in with the fact that people love to troll these systems. I think it is a matter of days before we start seeing TikTok videos of people getting this an AI assisted drive-through to say ridiculous and unaligned with the company things. This has happened with basically every high profile AI customer service assistant that has been rolled out. They haven't yet really figured out the safety on these things. The AI safety may not really be figure-outable. So I think that that's a risk that any company who's considering placing an AI assistant in such a public-facing role has to consider.
That's like you've seen the jokes about someone goes up and orders from AI 4 teas and 2 coffees and gets 42
coffees. Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. Guy, what are some of the other concerns that as we start putting AI into different aspects of our daily life?
Before I come to that, I'd like to just be a little bit contrarian. And so when I was at Infocom in Florida a couple of years ago, I went to Subway, and as a Brit, you're not used to American customer service. And you had some guy, and I really felt for him, just being super, super, super friendly in a way that felt inauthentic, because he's being paid peanuts and he needs me to tip him in order for him to have a living wage. And that, coming from a different culture, that felt a little bit uncomfortable. And so while I completely agree human service is better in many cases, I'm not sure it's always required in something like a QSR. If you look at the particular project that we featured, one of my colleagues, Roosevelt, their emphasis was very much on speed of service. So they had a coffee machine that does 350 coffees an hour. And, you didn't want to be stood in a queue for a human. You just want to speak your order and have it come out very quickly. And if you look at digital signage is already playing a role in QSRs without the human. So I'm sorry to admit this, I've been to Burger King recently, and, I'm pressing things to get the order, and it's annoying, but it's annoying because so many screens, so many different options flash up one after the other. I've tried to order one thing, and that's not a technology issue. That's a kind of user experience, balancing user experience and how much profit you get from constantly trying to upsell with another screen. So I think a lot of the issues, I understand, you need to have guardrails around crazy things that have been done, but you're just replicating with voice a bunch of screen options that are already being provided by digital signage in QSRs already. So I'm contrarian. I'm a bit more optimistic about this, but we will see.
Ernie, whether it's from your coffee side or also Ernie Bailey and the folks at UAMS, you also have a customer service side to managing the AV at University of Arkansas Medical. What do you think of this type of system and either deploying it or interacting with it?
Well, we have talked about, trying to implement AI into our help calls. We've done it, minimally. And it's just, right now, there are just too many variables. Now, as we're streamlining some of our design, it might get where we can do a little bit more of that. But, one line out of the first paragraph in this article jumped out at me real quick. It says they're using natural language AI technology to bring a human touch to the customer experience. And it seems to me you're taking the human touch out.
I know it's an audio medium, but I'm pointing at Ernie right now. I think that's a very good point.
We do have a YouTube video. Mitchell will have to put this together. So yeah, he'll show you pointing.
Well, I think that actually that kind of connects what Guy was saying, because I think that these kind of systems work best and are most effective and provide the best customer service experience when they don't try to replace a human interaction. When they present themselves as what they are, which is a mechanism for efficient service. I am a little bit alarmed by the idea of the natural language upsell, because I know how I react whenever the smart devices in my home spontaneously make a suggestion to me, and it is generally with rage.
Yes, my wife and I were having a conversation last night, and my watch told me that I needed to continue it on the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one. So I have a completely, somewhat tongue-in-cheek question, but a genuine American question, because Guy makes up a really good point. And for those of you that are in the U.S. and have not experienced life outside of the U.S., we have a very unique tipping culture. And when you spend time outside of the States, you discover that very quickly. Whether that is in the UK, whether that's in Spain, Amsterdam, wherever, it is very unusual for those folks to expect tips, right? Here in the States, it is expected. Are we tipping our AI baristas? Is that?
I was actually thinking about that as Guy was talking about it. So, do we owe them a tip?
Well, one thing I'd encourage you to look at is Japan. So Japan is a very, indirect communication, politeness, distance, culture. And I wonder whether this will take off in Japan in a big way. If you have like a lot of vending machines already, I think it suits Japanese culture particularly well.
Yeah. One thing that came to my mind looking at this is, how many times have you tried to call customer service and you end up just repeating the word representative so it'll get you to a human?
Every time.
And can you do that at the coffee shop?
There's a lot of research on this, and to Guy's point, there is an exception to the general rule of thumb that people always prefer human interaction, and that is if the AI assistant interaction is both better and faster. It has to be both.
Yeah.
And if you get faster service, but it's as good or not quite as good as human service, then you don't like it as much. But if you get faster service and you still get exactly what you wanted, you still get that cup of coffee and you didn't have to wait in line.
Yeah, accuracy is very important.
Yes.
All right. Last story comes to us from our website, AVNation. Extron has unveiled quite frankly, transformation of its first floor education space in Anaheim. They completed it in just 5 weeks, and primarily by their product marketing team. This is a story by me because I got a chance to go through it over in Anaheim. The renovated facility features cutting-edge technology, including a Daktronics video wall. Because it's Extron, all the video is done through their nav video transport. They have 150 endpoints throughout this space. They've got the main system has a divisible room. They're leveraging Sennheiser microphones in the ceiling, all kinds of stuff. They primarily did it for two things. One was in-person education, but also a lot of hybrid events as well is what they're looking at doing. Just to the side of it, they also have a space that highlights esports as well as command and control scenarios. That it's open now. Actually, the very first education went through the end of February. Guy, I'll start with you on this. We are, I would say that it's comfortable to say that we are out of COVID. Even so, there are still a number of online education, webinars and stuff like that. So in today's day and age, how valuable is in-person communications or in-person education and in-person education spaces?
So it's very valuable, and it does things in a different way. So I think, first of all, it's inspiring and motivational to be around other people while you're learning. You can learn from them as well as from the tutor in the classroom. Also, the tutor can be more flexible I know there are some online systems that allow you a little bit of flexibility, but many of them don't. And so, you can ask questions, the tutor can sense just from looking at the class what needs more attention, where they need to add things in. So I can think of, examples of inflexible systems. So, HR, mandatory HR training, online training modules that you have to complete. Say, for example, you have to complete a mandatory cybersecurity training module, and you have to go through it, even though you've scored 10 out of 10 on the test at the end, you have to go through it all over again. That kind of training is inflexible and doesn't provide what you'd find in a high-tech modern facility like the one that you're describing.
Ernie, as somebody here in the States, that certainly you would be one of the target audience for this space. How important is it for you and for your team to have that in-person education as opposed to virtual?
My team does a lot of both for ourselves and for teaching people how to use the technology, but also when we're trying to learn it. And a lot of times, yes, you like hands-on. Interesting little story here. Earlier this week, I had an instructor come to me. He's actually in our educational development program.
Yep.
We're healthcare professionals on our campus, so we have to teach people how to teach. They know their specialty, but they have not had a single class in teaching.
Okay.
So we work with them on doing that. Well, we brought in a group of some of our people who have already been trained on how to teach remotely, but they're taking another class on it. But they don't want to take the class remotely. They want to take it in room. So we redesigned the room for them. Some of their students are a 3-hour drive away, so no, they're not going to come to campus once a month for an hour class. But those that are, within 20 or 30 minutes, or they're already on campus, they won't sit in their office. They'll move across campus, complain about the slow elevators they had to take to get to the meeting room, and all sorts of complaints about the space. But no, they don't want to sit in their office and join from their computer. So we see people doing both. We did change our teaching methods here during COVID, and we have not gone away from hybrid. So we went from 0 Zoom licenses. No, we're not going to buy any Zoom licenses in February of 2020, to where I just renewed a license for 1,625 licenses and 12 webinar licenses this week. So, and I became a Zoom administrator.
Very nice.
After not knowing really what Zoom was.
Yeah, it happened very fast a couple of years ago. Rachel, this is where we're going to go back into Rachel's kind of her roots and her history. That is also actually where I met Rachel for the first time, was doing education with the folks at AVIXA. So when you're looking at this, just from an education standpoint, and both from the learner, as as Ernie also said, as the instructor, talk for a second about this drive to the hybrid model, where yes, some people need to learn in person, right? There and I don't remember the names, but there are different types of learners. I think one is kinetic learner, right? You have to have hands-on, auditory learners. But developing these systems and really developing courses for those different types of learners in a space like this.
First of all, I want to say I like going third, because then I get to connect the smart things Guy said to the smart things Ernie said. It gives me the illusion of intelligence. So I think, first of all, here's the dark secret. Everyone is a kinetic learner. Everyone. Okay. All people are kinetic learners. That's the way that practically everyone learns best. Now, it is true that there are people who are also very effective visual or auditory learners who can take a great deal away from attending a lecture or reading a manual. But when it comes to retention and ability to put a skill into practice, pretty much practically every human being on the planet learns best by doing, followed closely by teaching somebody else. If you have to explain it to somebody else, then you really absorb it and do it. So the points that Guy made about the differences inherent to in-person learning are all entirely correct. Because when you're in person, you have that opportunity to teach the person next to you a concept, and that reinforces it for you. And you have that opportunity to like put your hands on the gear and adjust the knobs and move the wires. And that reinforces things in a very visceral way that's far more memorable than even doing the same thing in a simulation does. But the economic and practical reality is that the vast majority of professionals who need that training don't have the ability to travel to get it on site. Right. So the modern classroom has to, in my view, be designed for accessibility for those students who don't have access to the in-person experience for a variety of reasons. And the teaching style is different. You cannot do exactly the same things with an in-person only group as you can do with a hybrid group. But at the same time, your reach is so expanded that it's really worth it. And with a really skilled instructor and a well-designed space, you can bring some of the benefits of that peer-to-peer in-person learning to your distant learners as well. But I think that one of the things that's really important about the kind of space that Extron built is, this is what I thought about as I was looking at it, and as I was looking at that command and control space that they've built out, is that back when I was working at Avixa, and the technology has advanced massively since then, but at the time when I was working in the training department, we worked to build some simulations to try to bring some of the benefits of like the kinds of hands-on learning that you could do in an Avixa CTSI prep class or installation 1 and 2 to our online courseware. And it was so frustrating because it is so difficult to bring the flexibility, to Guy's point, of a real world environment to virtual courseware. You have to teach a computer what the world is, how all of these signals interact with each other, how a display readout might change when you change a setting on a box. And that is all enormously complicated to simulate. And the only real recourse is to really narrow the parameters of the simulation to the point where it's often very frustrating for both the students and the instructors because they keep bumping into the boundaries of what's possible within the simulation. When in the real world, it's so easy. You just do it to the real box. And when you have a real physical space like this, even if you're a remote student, you might be able to remotely access these boxes and adjust their settings and see what the impact is in a real world. It's just a night and day difference. And even if it turns out that 99% of the students who are taught out of this facility are taught remotely, I think that the existence of the facility will have enormous benefits for them.
That'll be a good place to stop. Thank you all so much. Ernie Bailey from UAMS. How do people connect with you, sir?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
All right, very good. And Bradshaw, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you?
You should connect with me on LinkedIn and also connect with my company, Caster Communications.
You should connect with her on LinkedIn because she writes and posts some really great stuff. She just did so this week. Mr. Campos, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or AV Magazine?
So with me, I'm on LinkedIn with AV Magazine. We have a website, which is avinteractive.com. Print magazine, we have awards. So check them all out.
Yeah, and you can check out all their videos from ISE, which doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was already a month ago, which is really, really bizarre. The month is the year is flying by. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me anywhere. If you're interested in things that I write that has nothing to do with AV, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So that is the one that I'm doing at least for 2025. Go by the website if you would, please, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. A brand new State of Control has been loaded up as of today. They are looking at the future of control systems and AV programming. The year really is flying by. In about 2 weeks' time, we are heading to Orlando For Enterprise Connect, we will be there the 17th through the 19th, and we'll be home for a week and then turn right around and go to NAB the 6th through the 9th of April. So if you're going to either of those, hit us up. If you're watching on YouTube and you're tired of looking at my face, you can go listen to us, and that's it, over on anywhere you get podcast. And if you're listening to us and you want to see Rachel Point, you can go check us out on YouTube. So either way, go the opposite direction, but go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hi, this is Jennifer Goodyear
and Erica Carroll
from the Women in AV podcast, where we are encouraged by the incredible stories of women in AV.
Listen in on fun, empowering conversations as we chat with inspiring women, breaking barriers and creating their own path in the industry.
Check out Women in AV on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.